All right, we'll go ahead and get started then. So if you wouldn't mind turning off that terrific selection you chose.
1 second. There it is. Go.
Terrific. Well, thank you all for joining us at our inaugural virtual gala. We're very excited to welcome you here. We know that, of course, unfortunately, we're unable to replicate the feel and the, shall we say, the panache of a typical gala, but we'll do our best to replicate that. And I promise I won't talk too much to bore all of you. So I'm Alan. I'm WiderNet's executive director. Very excited to be here with all of you. And to kick things off, we're actually going to try and replicate one piece of a gala that you may be familiar with for those of you who've attended them. And that's actually putting you together in breakout rooms. This is an opportunity for all of you to get a chance to, one, meet other people who are here, and then actually play a quick trivia game where the winning team will win a prize. And I promise you, it's a very good one. So what we'll do in about 15 seconds is Whitney will put all of you in various breakout rooms of a few people. And then we'd ask all of you to, and we'll send this all in the chat as well so you can see it as well, is we'll ask you everyone to just give their name and where they're calling in from. And then we will then start sharing 6 trivia questions that will allow you to work together as a team on to answer. And then the winning team will win a prize at the end of the gala. Any questions before we get started? And maybe that's not a good idea. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. How about that? So we don't get, an avalanche of questions as we do this. Great. So with that, Whitney, if you wouldn't mind opening up the breakout rooms, and we will be back here in about 13 or 14 minutes, depending on how lively those discussions are. And one of the things we'll ask is that throughout this, if you can put yourself on mute, so we'll show you how to do that. If you can put yourself on mute, so if you see the microphone next to your name, you can hold it, press it, and then go ahead and press mute. And we'll give reminders of that to everyone.
Hello. Everyone on mute?
Hello.
Hi, Layla.
We're not in the breakout rooms yet. We'll be in there momentarily.
Momentarily.
While we're waiting, anybody heard any good librarian jokes lately?
How do you tell the difference between an introverted librarian and an extroverted librarian?
I do not know.
When an introverted librarian is talking to you, they will stare at their feet. When an extroverted librarian is talking to you, they'll stare at your feet.
Why don't we do this then? Actually, since it seems like we're having some technical difficulty with the breakout rooms.
Oh, actually,
Why don't we do this? So
we're actually about to be done.
Oh, you got it? Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I got it. There's just a lot of people. All right. And you're off.
If you press join, it'll send you to your breakout room. Great. For anyone who just joined, please press join on the breakout rooms, and we will then do a quick introduction. And when, if you want to make me the host, then I can send the questions into the.
Okay. Room 6. Okay, you are actually supposed to be in a room.
Okay, I won't go in the room.
Okay, then you need to move somebody into room 1.
It's Judd's knee pad. Yeah.
Oh.
Can you send William to room 1? So that there's a person leading the questions in there.
Say it again. Oh, yeah.
Move William to room 1 because you were supposed to be in room 1. That's how I had it set up. So
Let's let William. Great. Total, how many participants do we have?
Mhm.
I said in total, how many participants do we have?
We had 46, then plus the 8 here, so 54.
It's pretty good.
So somewhere between 46 and 54. I'll know better when everybody comes back. Because I'm pretty sure all these people were assigned to a room. And then some people came in at the same time, and it's hard to keep track.
I assume they're saying these questions.
Yeah, they pop up at the top in blue. We can also put them in the chat to everyone.
Cliff, who's going to walk us through a little bit of the history of the organization. Cliff, the floor is yours.
Okay, I can't, am I unmuted now? All right, cool beans. All right, well, everybody, thanks for joining us tonight, and a pleasure to see you. I've been asked to give you a little bit of history of the wider net work and our digital library. I'm going to do that by sharing a screen and doing a PowerPoint, because nothing is more exciting than a PowerPoint on Zoom. Okay, so I'm hoping you can all see this. And let me start just by saying I got my first trip to Africa was in 1982. Rural village in Liberia, 5 hours away from the nearest road, way back in the bush. And I wound up returning there to live for a year, to train villagers on how to drill water wells. And I founded another nonprofit to do that. So one thing I learned about living in this kind of situation was just the sheer isolation and how hard it is to get by in a place where one simply does not have access to information or ideas. In 1999, I did what happened there? Went on a Fulbright year to the University of Jos in Nigeria. And my first, one of the first experiences I had was a young man coming to me with a paper that he'd written, and it was a paper about recent computer technology, and he was very enthusiastic in his paper about all this technology. He spoke about it very well, and the paper was rendered gorgeously. It looked like it was ready for publication. The only problem with the paper is it had all the citations were from articles from a single PC magazine. And when I asked him about it, Richard told me, oh, he reminded me 2 weeks earlier when I had first landed and unpacked my bags, I pulled out the PC magazine I was reading on the airplane and said, does anybody want this magazine? And Richard took it and rendered it into a paper for his computer studies class. And I realized this guy was brilliant, and that if he had access to some serious information, he could change the world. Now, there's a sad part to this story. A year and a half later, Richard died of AIDS. And so he lived seeking information, and when he died, there was a great deal of denial in Nigeria about AIDS and its origins and things that could be done about it. And he just remains for me an icon for why we do the work that we do, getting people access to literally life-saving information. This fellow is a librarian, colleague of mine in a little town called Piki, Ghana. There are 5 educational institutions in this town. And this is their library. This is their library. That's everything right there. They really struggle to get their hands on information. And he shook me down and took every piece of printed matter I had that he could, so he could add it to their collection. This is our problem. About half the people in the world do not have access to the internet. But half of those who have access have slow, unreliable, and expensive connections. So they literally can disappear from the internet for weeks. And it can take hours to download a video. And one of my colleagues in Ghana told me a couple of years ago that he was spending like $2 per YouTube video out of his pocket to be able to download information. So that is the population that we're focused on. We first started with this idea of simply sending over like journals and stuff like that on CD-ROMs, and that quickly grew to terabyte size hard drives. And now we have installations on over 2,200 sites around the world. This is an 8 terabyte hard drive with 3,500 websites like TED, World Bank, Wikipedia, all that. A huge amount of information, absolutely overwhelming. People say they say they're drinking from a fire hose. On top of all that, we do other things like we shipped over 1,600 computers. We've refurbished, volunteers have refurbished and shipped over 1,600 computers to our colleagues, mostly in Africa. We also do training programs. Everybody in this picture had just spent the last week and a half taking computers completely apart and putting them back together again, installing their operating systems, putting them on a network, and installing the software and learning how to make web pages. The 2 guys in the back that are holding up those little boxes, they're showing off the power supplies that we blew up in doing this process. And that to me is the key thing. We like to work on changing attitudes about technology so that it doesn't become something that's sacred, but something that people can integrate into their lives and have fun with. So here are some librarians that we trained in Lamu, Kenya. These are the teaching staff of a nursing school in northern Kenya. In India, working with a group that trains disabled people and fights for their rights. In Papua New Guinea, training the librarians from a number of the secondary schools there. We do a lot of field training. And here's last year's group from Kaduna, Nigeria. These are all teachers from around the area. There are thousands of high schools in Nigeria, and very few of them have any internet connectivity. Well, on top of that, for the last few years, we've been working on what we call pocket libraries. And this is the idea of taking that CD-ROM, that 8 terabyte hard drive, and shrinking them down into handheld devices so that we can deliver information to the right people at the right time. For example, we made a Ebola chip, what we call the Ebola chip, which is a pocket library that has 35,000 pieces of information about Ebola, everything from public videos and posters to journal articles and stuff like that. And that was spread all over the Congo by public health people there. So really, we're talking about being able to get the right information into the right hands at the right time. So this is what our libraries can look like these days, just little chips that people can put in their smartphones or attach to their laptops. These little guys these are some farmers from Ioka, Nigeria. They are they're doing well. They're raising cocoa, and they asked us to bring in a digital library, install it for their community, especially for their children. And these are farmers who have done well by farming, but none of them want their children to be farming. They want their children to be successful lawyers and doctors and teachers and business people. And they realize that this is key. And every parent I have ever met, everywhere I've traveled, it would give their eye teeth to give their children these kinds of opportunities. And so that is why we do what we do. How can you help? You can volunteer, you can spread the word about what we do, you can sponsor a library. And I want to thank you for being here tonight to learn about the work that we're doing.
Thank you, Cliff, and thank you for all the work that you've done over these past, I guess, 21 years, 20 years since we've released an e-granary. But again, as we've said repeatedly, don't take my word for it or don't take Cliff's word for it. We'd love to hear from someone who was directly a recipient of information. So Whitney, if you wouldn't mind teeing up our video from our friend in Ethiopia.
And I'm a Dandivore School student. I'm going to tell you about the benefits I got from e-granary. E-granary is a webpage designed to help students get whatever information they can find about every subject. It has information about lots of things. It's presented in forms of videos, audios, different books are there, like PDF files and images are also there to support the information. In Dandivore School, like students are organized. We formed a team of students with the help of CIP. We all chose our subjects. For example, my subject is mathematics, and we help students by providing the information on that specific subject. We collect all the information and put them together for the easy access of students, so they can learn a lot.
And then from a friend of ours in Nigeria. And I promise he seems pleased with the work we've done, even if maybe his disposition seems a little serious.
Good afternoon. My name is Wada Kenneth Ako. I work and test, configure, troubleshoot e-granary server application. It's quite an amazing tool and very important tool in terms of e-library. I love the work they did there called Internet in a Box. It has sustained e-library access in most of our states, in Nasarawa State per se. Thank you very much for the developers of e-granary.
Terrific. And we've been able to install thousands of e-granaries across the world because of the generous support of many of you in this room. Specifically, we're very, very excited to be able to recognize the Wilsons who've been patrons and supporters. I guess Cliff will give a little more color to this, but I think almost since the beginning. So with that, we'll turn it over to Cliff, who's going to give us a little bit of an overview of the generosity of the Wilsons and their support for our organization.
Thanks again, Alan. Yeah, so we're recognizing Herbert and Janice Wilson from Iowa City tonight. They have supported WiderNet from the very beginning. Herb is a successful businessman who has tried very hard to teach me a few business lessons, and some of them actually sunk in, and I so deeply appreciate his advice and counsel over the years. He's also served on our executive committee when we were at the University of Iowa, and I've just been just a wonderful supporter of the project. He and Janice have very generously supported us when we were in Iowa. They supported us here, and they are supporting us this year, especially as we're wrestling with the COVID downturn and all that. And they are matching dollar for dollar every ticket for this event and all the fundraising that we're doing this year. They've just been extraordinarily wonderful to us, and they are very keen about the work that we're doing, and really glad that we have a chance to recognize them for their generosity and their grace.
And Cliff, if I'm not mistaken, we have a special site that as we recognize more and more of our generous supporters, that we're excited to sort of launch with the Wilsons. If you want to share.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't ready for this. There we go. So let me share a screen. Share this one here. We've created something, WiderNet Project Hall of Fame, and we're inducting Janice and Herb as our inaugural members to recognize them in perpetuity for the work and support that they've shown us over the years. We're gonna hopefully add your names to this in the coming years. But once again, truly appreciate the generosity of Janice and Herb.
Thanks, Cliff. I know growing up that I always dreamt of joining the NBA Hall of Fame one day, before I realized that I wasn't talented enough, athletic enough, or had the right skills. But I think if one day I can make it here, that'll be a nice consolation prize before my expiration date. Next, we'd love to show you a video of one of our field associates. So our work wouldn't be possible without many talented people across the globe who are out showing the benefits of the e-granary, working with our partners in different countries where we operate. And so we're very fortunate to have a video from Shola, who's one of the most dynamic, charming people whom I've ever had the privilege of working with, and we're very fortunate to have him as part of our team at WiderNet. So Whitney, if you wouldn't mind, we'd love to hear from Shola.
My name is Shola Kennedy. I'm a field associate with WiderNet project. I'm based in Nigeria. I help to install the e-granary, also train users on how to effectively use the e-granary system, and then I provide post-support services to ensure that e-granary is up and running fine. I want to say a big thank you to the team and Cliff, with all the amazing volunteers, librarians all over the world for getting out and giving quality educative materials to students and different species of humans all over the world. I want to send much love from Nigeria to all the people presently at this event, virtually and physically. I also look forward to another amazing gala event. Thank you all. I love you all the way from Nigeria. Bye.
Thank you, Shola. And so you may be wondering, what is for an event like the gala, what is it? What's our ultimate aim? What are we trying to accomplish? Obviously, you've heard that we have these e-granaries. We partner with universities, with schools, with governments, with prisons, with the prison system in the United States to make sure that this information is accessible. And this tool is allowing everyone to, again, have that access to information that many unfortunately lack. But we'd love to hear from a special guest we have along with Cliff, So we have William, who's in attendance with us tonight. And what they'll do is they'll give an overview of a special project that we're working on, and where we ultimately hope that your support can really help bolster this project. So William and Cliff, the floor is yours. Whitney, if I can kindly ask you to unmute them.
Okay, I am going to start this one here with a sort of some background on the project with William, and then we'll go into William will update us on what he's doing. And let me run this button here, look over here. Can I share a screen? Let's see, I can. Okay, here we go. Boom. Okay, love it when technology works. Hey, okay, so Moving Windmills is the name of William's project. He and I have known each other for a number of years. We met we're both TED fellows at a conference, the TED conference, and William wowed the world by telling his story about building a windmill out of scrap and spare parts to pump water and help his family during a terrible drought. He's since written a book about it, a book for early readers and a book for children, and his exploits have been turned into a Netflix movie, which is very worth watching. I've seen it a couple of times. I really enjoy it. Since TED, he graduated from Dartmouth College. He worked with us for a year on a year-long project to develop appropriate technology curriculum, focusing on young people, encouraging them to go beyond simply reading about stuff and actually putting it to good use. And this is what we call the no-do gap, and he's working on that. He's worked with several e-granary installations in Malawi, and he's working full-time right now on the Moving Windmills project, especially on an innovation center that he is building in Malawi. So right now they're focusing on school solarization. He was telling me just got a cargo container full of solar cells donated from Silicon Valley. They're doing clean water stuff, and oddly enough, they're drilling wells using the Wellspring Africa technology I mentioned earlier. And they're building libraries, agricultural libraries, because it's largely agricultural communities there in Malawi. But the big dream is the Moving Windmills Innovation Center, a place where young people can go and get hands-on training in all kinds of technology, and come up with homegrown solutions for their challenges and problems. So William's been working with the local leadership and the chiefs and others to pull the plans together. They've actually got a couple of buildings built, and they are well on their way to building this center. I want to wrap up the introduction by sharing this this quote. Libraries store the energy that fuels the imagination. They open windows to the world and inspire us to explore and achieve and contribute to improving our quality. Libraries change lives for the better. William's story is the story of somebody who went to the library and dramatically changed his life for the better. That is what we at WiderNet and the Granary and our work with Moving Windmills is all about, not just making libraries, but changing lives, helping people become successful in whatever enterprise they want to engage in. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to William, who has some thoughts about this whole idea of information access.
Thank you, Cliff. It's a little great honor like to participate this evening. As you have heard, my story all started from the library. Once I couldn't go to school, I was trying to find information that I could use to be able like to continue with my studies through that. And then I was inspired by one of the books in the library. It was a very small library. So seeing how that information changed my life, I've seen that having access to information, it can change so many people's life that they can be able to achieve a lot of things in their own communities. So the importance immediately once I made the library, the first time when I met Cliff at the TED conference, it was the first time I used the internet. I was like, if I had this internet all this time, it would have been so great. And then going back to Malawi, little trying to find the ways, how can we put up like the internet is in school? So seeing the wake of what Cliff was doing, eGreenery, I was like, this is the kind of thing that we need to be able like to put and the student, they're going to be able to use it. So that's one thing that we are doing with the Moving Windmills project, is trying to give the information that younger people can be able to use to uplift their own lives. So it's really exciting to be able like to work with the WiderNet project, because that information need to be get in the hands of the people that they really need that information to take to change their own lives. I remember one time I went to speak just a little bit about my work in one school. A year later, when I went there, this young guy was able to build his own windmill. So by looking at that, just getting that information, he was able to do that. There's so many things that young people all over the world, they're going to be able to do if they have the right information that they needed to be able to do that. But the only one way of being able like to get that information is through this eGreenery, because not everybody else will be able to get access to the internet. In some areas, the infrastructures it's not there, but with eGreenery, it's very easy set up that you can put it like everywhere. So I'm excited to work with the WiderNet, with also the project that we are doing with the Moving Windmills Innovation Center, that we want to be able to bridge the gap of knowing and doing. Thank you.
Thank you, William, and thank you, Cliff. And again, William, a tremendous job with just everything you've been able to accomplish, and we're very privileged to be able to do our small part to help support and bolster your efforts. With that, I'm very excited to introduce our board president, Susan, who's, I think, maybe the most charming person I've ever met, in all sincerity. So I'm very excited to introduce her, and she's going to just say a few words before we start wrapping things up. And you just don't have to hear from me as much. Susan?
Good Lord, Alan, the most charming person. I want to thank Cliff and William for the really wonderful work that they're doing to help provide information to people all over the world with limited internet access. And I would like to ask you if you would be willing to join us in supporting the Windmill Project and the other projects that WiderNet works on. We always need money, and we would really appreciate your sending us some. So if you have a few minutes, we would like for you to look at two things. Our silent auction, which has some dandy items in it that you might want to bid on. And we've got, let's see, we're going to come up with the auction page for that. And the other thing that you might want to do is to visit our general website, so that if you're interested in making a donation, that's how you can do it easily. Thank you very much for your attention. I found this to be really, really interesting. WiderNet is a damn good project.
It is a damn good project. Thank you, Susan. Before we wrap things up, we did want to just give everyone a second. Our silent auction will end in a couple of days. So if you want to take a moment, we'll put that in. Whitney's put that in the chat for everyone. So we'll take a couple of minutes and then we're going to wrap up the programming. So please don't go anywhere, but we'll have a few more minutes of programming that we'd love for you to stick around for. So take a couple minutes, take a bio break, visit our silent auction. We'll be back, let's say by 8:06 Eastern time. I would say we have our first legitimate budget. We'll go ahead and get started in about 10 seconds. Great. So before we wrap up tonight's festivities, we did want to recognize a few people. First, we'd love to start and recognize our terrific team and staff. So we have Whitney Clark, who's been the brains behind the tech tonight, but more importantly, she's the brains behind the tech and many other things, part of the organization at WiderNet. So Whitney, if you want to spotlight yourself and just give a quick wave. And then we have Kristen, who's, for lack of a better term, kind of our chief of staff, who makes sure the operations and everything runs smoothly. And she's been a terrific part of this team I think both of them have been here for a number of years. So a quick wave and thank you to Kristen, who's and was really instrumental in a lot of the work here for this as well. Do we have, I know Mo is here as well. Mo, are you here? Mo is another one of our instrumental team members on the tech side of things. Again, we wouldn't be able to do nearly any of the work we do without the tremendous work that Mo does. So we'd love to recognize him. And then is Laura here tonight? I don't think I've seen her. Is Laura? And Laura is our sort of resident librarian. And again, just a terrific, invaluable member of this team and someone who's been truly instrumental in much of the success over the past few years here at WiderNet. We also want to recognize the board, who's I think all in attendance. So we have Gordon Shaw, who's our newest member of the board. I think he's been on, I have no idea, a few weeks, but Gordon brings a wealth of talent and perspective in the international development space. He's an engineer. He's, and someone we're very fortunate to have on board with us. We have Nazanin, who's in the tech space, who's, I think, just a couple of weeks more tenure than Gordon. And she's, again, a very talented business person and brings just a whole host of knowledge with her and kind of expertise in kind of the international development realm. We have Helen, who's had a very distinguished business career and who's maybe a little bit longer tenure than Nazanin. And again, we couldn't be more thrilled to have Helen on board, who's just been terrific with our strategy and just helping us think through like what's next for WiderNet. We have Martha, who's been on the board a few years now and just been a terrific, just sort of helping us execute and think through everything. She has a tremendous amount of experience, talent, expertise. I think every time I walk away, I think, wow, that's tremendous insight that Martha's offering. So again, very, very lucky to have her on board. And then, of course, the person who needs no introduction, who already had an introduction, I think she'd like another one, though. Our board chair, Susan, again, probably the most charming person, charismatic person I've met in a very long time, was a very distinguished career, has opened up, I think, a library in Uzbekistan, am I right? In Tashkent? You were, oh, that was Martha who's in Tashkent. Susan, you did something in Uzbekistan too, or am I just making that up? I think I'm losing it. But again, Susan just brings with her, she's currently in the Mount Holyoke area. She's worked at Stanford previously, brings a whole host of knowledge, expertise, and just, I think, tremendous vision for this board. And I'm going to turn it over to her, who's going to recognize someone who, again, needs no introduction, but I think it's time for us to recognize him as well. So Susan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I get to recognize the genius and the visionary behind WiderNet, and that is Cliff. Cliff has done such a wonderful job. And if anybody knows anybody who recommends people for the MacArthur Genius Grants, I think he deserves one. Thank you, Cliff, for all you've done for this organization. It's just moving to think about what's happened in the 20 years you've been working on this. Here are some pictures of Cliff. I like the skirt particularly. Is that a skirt?
That's a grass skirt in Papua New Guinea.
Aha. So thank you very much, Cliff, and thank all of you for being here.
And thanks everybody. Thanks everybody from the WiderNet project, staff and board, and thanks all of you for coming to join us tonight.
And to play us out, what better way than to see a video of Cliff dancing? So Whitney, with that, thank you all for coming and enjoy this on your way out. And we will announce the winners very shortly and via email when we send a follow-up email to everyone.
Okay, go. Thank you.
Zungusha, awekelea. I want to appreciate our professor with a 7 bossa. Bossa, 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 bossa.
Catch it, smash it. Okay? So, mosquito, mosquito. Catch it, smash it. Mosquito, mosquito. Catch it, smash it.
Thank you.
You're right.
Thank you, everyone. And again, with the silent auction will be open for another couple of days, and we wish you all a wonderful weekend.
Teresa, I know that you'll be contacting your individual donors and
what can we do as a group, everyone here? I'd love to have calls to action here that are kind of coordinated with the posts that are coming out and stuff. Because I think, we could really, whatever's coming out